Pro wrestling talk from the four corners of parts unknown. This is That Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome to That Wrestling Podcast. Things are back to normal. I am Jason Marchuka leading the ship tonight. The gang is all here. Brian, Joe, Kevin, and let's just get into it.
What are you wearing? What are you wearing? What are you wearing today? What are you wearing? What are you wearing? What are you wearing today?
You know what it is by now. What are you wearing? The weekly check-in on what you are wearing. It is a pro wrestling podcast. Of course, pro wrestling t-shirts are mandatory. Joe, we'll start with you. What do you got this week?
Well, I figured that since I have now moved to a new location of Parts Unknown, the first podcast in my new home has to be That Wrestling Podcast t-shirt, which you can find on whatamaneuver.net. Whatamaneuver.net. Buy the merch. So yes, if I'm going to do one in my new location, it's got to be That Wrestling Podcast found at whatamaneuver.net, where you can go order yours now. And let's go to someone who needs to order one now. Brian, what are you wearing?
I see what you did there.
Well, show of hands, who bought a t-shirt from whatamaneuver.net, That Wrestling Podcast?
I have two of them.
I have four of them. So,
Oh my gosh, I'm
So
such
Brian,
a bad member of
what
the
are you
team.
wearing?
Man. Well, this week
not
was
a That Wrestling Podcast t-shirt, but
yeah, this week was a big one in the household. It happened on Sunday. We had not only Father's Day, but it was also my wife and I's 7-year wedding anniversary. And guys, I got to tell you, my family, they didn't treat me just good. And they didn't treat me just great. They treated me absolutely perfect. I've got a Mr. Perfect shirt on today. Which leads me into, what is Jason wearing tonight?
well, I did not celebrate Father's Day, nor a wedding anniversary, but I did buy the new Mr. Perfect t-shirt from Homage. Them bastards. Every week it seems I'm like, yeah, I picked up something new because it showed up. This week, due to like some back order stuff, 9 shirts came to my house from Homage.
All right.
Because they have that like, get free shipping if you spend $65, but 2 shirts is $62. And it's like, spend the other, whatever. And then I did get a $10 off coupon. So I feel like they are paying attention to who's buying what, or maybe just listening to the podcast. But yeah, Mr. Perfect Homage shirt for me. And Kevin, bring it home.
I read an article about this guy earlier this week saying he still makes $100,000 a month on NWO merchandise.
Wow.
Sales and whatever the rights part of it is. I'm wearing the original Scott Hall, not the Diamond Stud. In WWE, I'm wearing the classic Razor Ramon. It's very graphic-y. It's purple, very soft t-shirt, and I love it. Plus, he has one of the best quotes of all time, by the way. He has several. Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
Well, that's only one saying.
Well, I said one of the best quotes.
Did you guys watch the shoot video I sent you about him saying he would toss Paige's salad?
No, I think you summed it up by that description. I was like, yep. Good for you, Scott.
Yeah, Scott Hall shoot videos from like 2016 are the best.
Oh, man.
I found it online, and then I went down the rabbit hole. It was like I was watching like Sunny. Hers is insane. The stuff about the dudes she banged and the Dolph Ziggler story. Yeah, you can go look that up on your own. But we are here to talk about wrestling. I'm not going to lie. This week, I don't really feel like there was a lot to talk about, but there was a pay-per-view on Sunday. Hell in a Cell. Kevin, what'd you think overall of the pay-per-view?
when I think about it, I can't remember too many things from it. I remember it being good. For some reason, I can't remember too much, but I do remember Bobby Lashley and Drew brought it. I thought that was a pretty good, solid match. I did enjoy the ending. It didn't really make Drew look weak, right? With the roll up and the little interference from MVP. But overall, I don't know. It was good, but I just can't think of anything too memorable from it to like ingrain in your memory of being.
And the roll up isn't that big a deal because I think Drew won the title on a backslide at some point. So whether it's a roll up, backslide, whatever. My big thing about the pay-per-view was that Charlotte got fucked over. She got screwed. I've already said in multiple weeks, I'm not buying Rhea Ripley as the champ. And the fact that she like flung the piece of the table and got disqualified, but yet Charlotte could throw Rhea into the stairs and not get disqualified. That whole ref discretion thing, I'm not a big fan of. Joe, pay-per-view thoughts?
I thought it was decent. Nothing. The only thing that was really like bad in my eyes was the Shayna Baszler, Alexa Bliss, whatever the heck that was. That was trash. It didn't belong. But I got to give something props for it. It was in the perfect position. It was after Cesaro and Rollins. That match, I thought, killed it. I thought Bianca Belair and Bayley brought it at the beginning. It was a great opening match.
Great start.
Great start. Like both of them really, brought their A game that night. My power went out after that, so I never saw the Charlotte match or the main event. But what I did see, I did enjoy.
So wait, the power went out after the Alexa Bliss match?
Yes.
Do you think?
Maybe
you don't think, do you?
That she had something to do with it?
Yeah.
Why, with all the trashing I'm doing? Yeah, I'm sure she did.
Whoa. Lily, watch for Lily and you're part of Parts Unknown.
Yeah, you go into that new basement. You make sure the lights are on. No mirrors, too. Stay away from mirrors. So, I thought Bayley and Bianca Belair had a great match to open. But here's what's really funny. My father-in-law was here. Doesn't give a shit about wrestling, but he was getting ready to leave. I'm like, hey, you want to come watch the pay-per-view? Go right ahead. And he's like, all right. So it was during the main event. And some of the things he was asking was like, well, why does one guy have a coach and the other one doesn't? Because MVP was out there for Lashley. And then the other thing was when they kept pulling stuff from under the ring, like the table and the kendo stick. He's like, what is that? And I'm like, it's like a lamp for your backyard minus the wick up top, kendo stick. And I was just I love watching wrestling with people that don't know anything about it. Of course, he's in his 60s. So obviously the wrestling of his day isn't anything like it is now, but he did find some entertainment and I found a lot of entertainment in just his questions about it.
And then you jabbed him. You said, the winner gets to fight Bobo Brazil in the next pay-per-view. So he got all excited about that.
Well, he's from Pittsburgh, so if I could have threw like a Bruno Sammartino line or whatever.
Yep.
So we're gonna go back to Dynamite, and there isn't really much to talk about from AEW. The Wardlow versus Jake Hager MMA cosplay match fucking disgusted me, and that's part of the reason why I really don't want to talk about AEW from last Friday. I'm surprised they did not make a huge deal about Brandy and Cody having their baby, even though WWE actually put a tweet out about Eden and Stardust having a baby like 4 days after they didn't include Moxley in the Ray Paquette. If you don't know what we're talking about, go to our social media at thatwrestlepod and we have the tweet posted. It's crazy. Brian, you were the one that found that. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think after the flack that some of us gave them after not tagging Mox or Dean Ambrose, that was kind of a good make good. Two former employees, they wish them well in the birth of their daughter. That's a classy company right there, all the way through.
Surprising that AEW didn't make a bigger deal about that, but I would not be surprised if this Saturday night they bring the child out. I don't know if you can do that with a week-old baby. Can you take it into a place like that or whatever? But the only other thing about AEW that I think is conversation worthy is that Andrade had a sit down with Jim Ross, which was fucking stupid because a week prior he was calling him Andre and saying, Excalibur, you got to help me pronounce his name. I thought it was ridiculous. Where was Alex Marvez or the guy that hangs out with Pentagon now that says Pentagon says? Like, I don't understand why it was with JR, and he has a surprise coming. So any thoughts on what Andrade's surprise will be, Joe?
I just think it's funny if going with that on Twitter today, Miro tweeted out because Andrade during the interview said that he is entitled to a TNT championship match or a AEW championship match. And Miro responded on Twitter today and he went, "Oh, must run in the family that you automatically think you get a title shot whenever you want." And I'm like, yes, this is the Miro that I wanted.
Nice.
No idea what the surprise is going to be. I know why they did it with JR. JR used to be the interview guy for all these up and comers in WWF. He interviewed Mankind. He interviewed Triple H when he was like, I am the game. Like, they're trying to play off of that, and it gives it a little bit of legitimacy. So I didn't think anything bad of it. I just thought it was funny.
I didn't think anything good of it. Kevin, any thoughts on what the surprise could be?
I don't know. I maybe Vega comes into town, but I only see her joining there if Alistair makes his way to AEW. Hopefully it's something fun.
Well,
go on.
No, I don't think it's that. And the only reason I feel that is because Tommy End was on the Punk Rock MBA podcast this week. And Black and Vega are starting a wrestling school. And while it's going to be pro wrestling, it's also going to be a lot of martial arts, jiu-jitsu, and that stuff, as that's his background. But the Punk Rock MBA it's a fun podcast YouTube channel. If you've never checked it out, go ahead and do it. A lot of music things like what's worse, rap metal or ska music. A lot of debates talking about women of rock, and it was like Gwen Stefani's a sellout. Like, it's a fun podcast, but I guess Tommy and the guy that runs it, Finn, have been friends forever. But I don't know if it's Zelina Vega to AEW. Brian, you have any thoughts on what this surprise might be?
I do. I think Zelina is the obvious one, and so I don't think they'll go that route. Doesn't make sense with him coming out with Vicky. Then why are you bringing her in? So I had to look it up because I wasn't familiar with it, but I thought I had heard this. So back when he was in Mexico with the CMLL promotion, he had his own group, and forgive my pronunciation, but it's like Los Ingobernables, which is
Ingobernables, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
In English, it's the Ungovernables. So he had two of his guys there, Roosh, who I believe is in ROH and
Ring of Honor.
Yep, yeah. And La Mascara. So I think it'll be one of those guys. Maybe Roosh seems to be the more high profile one that I've at least heard of. And when I read about ROH, I see his name. So that will be my bet on that one.
Okay. Well, we'll see. AEW is Saturday tomorrow. We're getting a little closer to the end of the NBA playoffs, and next Wednesday, June 30th, they go back to the Wednesday day part. Monday
Can I
Night
say
Raw.
real quick? He looks like $1 million, doesn't he?
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah,
so
like
good.
The suits, the outfits, the sunglasses. While we didn't love his debut with Vicky and this JR thing, it was like 2 minutes. I did end up watching that, but he looks like $1 million. I'm like, this guy, wow. If I could have like one half of your style, it'd be
Look who
amazing.
his father-in-law is going to be.
I know.
The Nature Boy.
I know. There it is.
Nature Boy. And speaking of that, before we get to Raw, did you watch Hidden Treasure season finale this week?
Did not, no.
It was all about Ric Flair and the black butterfly robe he wore when he came to WWF in 92. It was the black butterfly robe. This thing had been missing for 25 years. And then magically, it pops up on eBay. Somebody bought it. They had had it valued at about $90,000. It sold on eBay. They're like doing like the testimonial video with that dude from whatever that group in NXT is. Holy shit, I'm Hit Row. The guy from Hit Row.
Oh yeah. AJ,
they're doing like
top dollar.
and they're like, Ben Brown's like, hey, look. And it showed up on eBay magically. 10 grand is what it sold for on eBay. And then they, Conrad Thompson is one of Ric Flair's other son-in-laws, who's a big collector of Flair merchandise and is in the loop on everything. And they've been looking for that robe for a long time. So they got in touch with the guy, but he did not want to be on television. So they sent a broker that would speak for him. And this motherfucker, he wanted, it was called the Jungle Robe that Flair had worn in WCW. And it ended up that Charles Robinson had it, Little Nate. So they went to Charles Robinson's house and he started crying because of the emotional connection. And then Ben Brown at the warehouse had the bright yellow butterfly robe that Flair wore. It was on one of the DVD covers that WWE put out. So the gist of it was a pair of boots and the Jungle Robe. They would make a trade for this black butterfly robe. Now, man, the guys will not be on TV. So they go to Huntsville, Alabama. The trade's about to go down. You got Conrad sitting on Zoom. You got Charlotte Flair. You got Ric Flair. You got AJ. And the broker walks in. He goes, well, we have a problem. He wants money. So the guy made a deal and then was like, fuck you. I want more money. And he was like, it started at 25. They offered him 25 grand plus the other boot robe, plus the boots.
Oh.
And then the guy was like, no. And then it was like, they upped it to 50 grand cash. So it's about $100,000 worth of, trade.
Wow.
Conrad Thompson. Now, me and Brian are big fans of the Conrad podcast. Shows the fucking set of balls on this guy. Conrad goes, look, this fucker wants to do this. I've got 60 grand. I will wire into his account right now. Yes or no?
Conrad.
Go watch DVR. Joe, I know you just moved, so you may not have access to DVR, but it's got to be somewhere online. It was such a good episode, 2 hours, and I love the Nature Boy. So I'm losing my shit, and my wife's like, she knows she knows Ric Flair is my favorite, but just the stuff. It was such a cool episode. And
for that guy for getting 60 G's. That's
he's a fucking piece of shit scumbag. That guy's a piece of shit scumbag. I hope his identity comes out, and then the internet can fucking have him.
I negotiate every single day for my.
It was Kevin. It was Kevin.
It was. I didn't want to ruin it for you guys, but
I know.
Well, the robe was found in Tennessee, and you lived there for a while, right? Or no, you lived in Kentucky.
But I was
same difference.
Same thing.
I was just in Tennessee where we.
Where
you got the robe.
So yeah, it was a great episode. It was the season finale, and I know I tell you guys, watch this, listen to this, check this out. If you this is the one thing to check out. You will love it, and if you do not love it, I'll give you $1. So Monday Night Raw. Let's move on to TV news. Brian, we'll start with you. In the group text, I had said the couple things that I wanted to talk about, but then I realized, there was Money in the Bank qualifier. There was actual shit to talk about. So we'll start with you. What did you think of Monday Night Raw?
It was a very good show, and I will not hear any slander otherwise.
Wow.
We've gone from this is trash. This has some good parts. Last week was, hey, it was kind of good. This was a good show. This was the best show they've had in a long, long time. They had the 3 Money in the Bank qualifier matches.
Which you got all wrong, by the way.
I had Ricochet. I had Ricochet. I didn't see AJ going because I thought, well, AJ and Omos, they got their tag title thing. So, so yeah, that. And then I was, so I had Riddle. Yeah, I had Riddle over, who did he fight now? Over Drew. Yeah, I thought, all right. Yeah. So I had that. I was 2 out of 3, but I had Randy winning, which he ended up losing. So that's great. That was really good. Good start there. And then we also had some interesting developments with the Eva Marie.
I got that. I
Let
will
Jason
discuss
take care of that.
That's all me. I'm all
Yeah.
about the Eva-Lution.
But no, good start. And we had a Hell in the Cell match.
Yeah.
You know, here's what I want. Since the last 3 minutes of Raw was the Hurt Lock put on Xavier and Kofi saying, "Come on, man, let him go." I want Raw on Monday to open up with Woods still in the Hurt Lock. Here we are a week later. Kofi go, "Come on, man. I still can't get into the Hell in a Cell," and seeing if that happens. If that happens, I'm all on board for that. But yeah, it was a great show. I'm very happy. And that was the first time in a long time I can confidently say that.
Kevin?
Brian hit home so many good points. Some of the highlights for me after Riddle won, when he was going back up the stage, like Randy was just waiting there, and you know, Riddle just is like, "Come on, Randy, be proud of me. I'm gonna make you proud." And then he's like whipping his hair, and you know he just wants to laugh at every single time he opens his mouth. And Randy, oh, it's so good. I never want that to end. But one other main highlight: Alexa Bliss has new music.
Yes, she
I
does.
didn't catch that.
And it's nothing like Britt Baker's, but it kind of like a little bit when Alexa's like, "Come to my playground, come play," like in between a little bit of music where Britt's is like, "The doctor will see you now." Like it was, I actually really liked the music. I thought it was pretty good, but I didn't mind her kind of like evil version of her like dance or pop electronica music. I thought it was pretty good. But the main thing for me was this show. It was good. It was good. One might even say it was super.
I got that one. I got that one.
Because of
I'm calling it. I got that one.
Because of a kind of a debut. And Joe, I'll let you take it.
Yep.
All right. You're talking about Super Nikki.
Yeah.
The what was her name? What was it?
Spark.
Destiny?
Yeah.
The Spark.
The Spark? Okay. I'm for it. This is a surprise. I thought about
Much so.
I thought about it. And if this is her idea, if this is something she wants to do, which in every case it sounds like it is, I'm for it. She earned it. She went through everything in the past month, and she got to do what she wanted to do. If this is truly her vision of where she wants her career to go, then I applaud her for taking the leap and trying it out. So I will support her on that one. That's like, I know you're surprised. You thought I was going to like trash it. I didn't like it at first. I thought, this is stupid. Why are they changing her gimmick all of a sudden after they've been pushing her for the past month? But I think that with the push, they're kind of rewarding her because I feel like this is actually her creation. So,
well, it's funny you say those things, Joe, because
it takes guts.
I have sources.
Oh,
it was a Nikki Cross idea from the inception of the character, the uniform, everything. So this is all Nikki Cross being rewarded. And I think it's pretty awesome. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Now, the biggest story from Raw. And if any of you, well, actually, before the biggest story, let's get back into these Money in the Bank qualifiers. The last chance qualifier happens next Monday night. Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles, and Randy Orton. And it's kind of obvious where they're going to go. And I hope I'm wrong. But if Drew McIntyre gets into Money in the Bank, and if he wins Money in the Bank, we are not talking about Monday Night Raw for 4 months on this show. It is horseshit if Drew McIntyre wins that fucking briefcase after the stipulation that was just in place at Hell in a Cell. So no Raw talk if Drew McIntyre wins the Money in the Bank. Go ahead, Joe.
But what if he wins it and goes to SmackDown and challenges the head of the table?
No.
Well, the thing is, I've been trying to say, let's stop talking about Raw for the last couple of weeks, and you're like, no, let's keep doing it. But this is the stipulation that does it.
Well, I thought though they were kind of saying that during the match, but they were like, well, if he wins it, but he can't challenge Lashley. So I feel like they were starting to address that, but hopefully it doesn't come to that anyway.
If they did, I missed it, but I think it's horseshit. Not a fan of it, and we will not talk Raw for 4 months. But the biggest story of Monday Night Raw, the biggest story was the return of Eva-Lution. Eva Marie and her protege named Dewdrop, which apparently, Kevin, you looked on Urban Dictionary. It has a few different meanings, huh?
Yeah. You can look at Urban Dictionary of Kevin too. Pretty eye-opening. Yeah, it's like a woman who fancies other ladies.
Yeah, which is fine, but I just thought it was an interesting choice in the name.
Joe, how are you doing that?
The storyline, the story is the fact that Dewdrop turned her back on Eva in the Money in the Bank qualifier. How sad is it for the women? They have to have tag team qualifying. They can't give them one-on-ones. What the fuck, WWE? What the fuck? Funny. So then, Dewdrop turned her back on Eva. And then Kevin sends a message today. Holy shit. They are, Eva Marie has been moved to the alumni section of WWE.com. And I'm like, really? They're going to scrap this after a week? And then the best part of my day, I saw a tweet from Eva Marie, and it says, quote, fake news. Tweet circulating that my status on Raw roster is alumni. A simple fact check reveals the truth. Don't let mainstream fake wrestling news media try to derail the evolution. Now, my tweet to the group was, thank God it's fake. Brian, your response made me laugh, which was,
I read your text in Corey Graves' voice because of how over the top he is for everything Eva.
Yeah, I just was, I was happy. I'm glad it was fake. I don't know where they're going to go with it. I don't care. I am all in on the Evolution. And as of today, no Evolution t-shirts on WWE Shop. Another story that came out today, not in the ring, but Kevin, you found this one. A new WWE creative writer, her name is Kenise Mobley. She appeared on the Asian Not Asian podcast to talk about her new gig at WWE. She's getting criticized online due to the lack of wrestling knowledge. Now, this is what she said on the podcast. Quote, yes, I've been hired by WWE. Given the things that you know about me and my entire life and what I'm into, yes, that is surprising. I guess that she's got the gig at WWE. They did not require me to know anything about wrestling, but I do have a background in film production, comedy writing, and they're like, perfect. Come on in. So I am on the Monday Night Raw team. So there's Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. And the people I know that are on it are Bobby. His name is either Bobby Ashley or Bobby Lashley, and I really should know that. He's like this giant black guy, and he and the people who are part of his crew, I know what they are called, or at least of last year, they called themselves the Hurt Business. The Hurt Business. They wear suits, and they're like, we're cool. Close quote.
Yeah. That's the best line.
Joe, you hate Monday Night Raw. What do you think about this?
It all makes so much sense now. It all makes sense. Like, I'm on the Raw team. SmackDown has their own team. SmackDown's a way better show. There's no arguing that anymore.
You don't think there's any of these types of people on SmackDown?
Right? I think there's some, but I think Fox has some of their people in there too, and I think there's some. They insisted on some wrestling people. If I had to guess, there's definitely a difference in the shows, but this makes so much sense with we don't know who these people are. Do they know that Damian Priest still works there? Because he hasn't been on since the day after the zombies.
The zombie attack.
No, but he was on the next day. Did they know Jinder Mahal came back? He finally came back as a backstage segment and only shaved one little part of his face. This makes so much sense. Like, people like this running the flagship show shows why Raw has been terrible for so long. They don't know anything about the product. They just know about the entertainment business. Nothing wrong with that. It's just not wrestling.
Brian, you have a thought? I know you're big into like production sides of things, and
Yeah, I think it's good to have some outside voices. You know, you don't want four nerds like us all on the writing team in the bubble and not having anything else of outside influences. Now, I hope that's the, if there's 10 members, I hope there's only one or two of them that are like this young lady who you're speaking of. But yeah, it's not very flattering to hear that sort of stuff. You would think that, if you're getting the job, you're going to be a little more prepared. Yeah, hopefully that's an instance of few and far between, I would hope. But, we've been watching the show for a while and maybe that's not the case.
So Joe, out of the four of us, you were the only one to watch Mick Foley on the Broken Skull sessions. How was it?
It was entertaining.
Anything new? Anything new?
Nothing. The only thing that was new, the story that I never heard before, was when Foley and Austin were first traveling together in WCW. And at first they would travel with Regal and mess around with each other, have a good time. It was a story that he said about that when they were traveling with DDP and messing with him big time. Like him and Austin were just like, they were like two school kids laughing hysterically about telling these old stories about throwing cookies in DDP's bed, because since he was the old man, but he was a rookie, he had to sleep on the rollaway cot. And so they threw he would always sleep inside the room, but he would pin the shades so much that it would be pitch black, so that he didn't know that there was food inside the cot. So he gets in there and just starts swearing like, "Who did that?" Blah blah blah, and he's like, and Foley went, and then Steve and I just going, like laughing, and Austin is losing it. He's like, the veins popping out of his head. He's like laughing hysterically, remembering the whole thing, because they would mess with Paige about being the old man on the tour. And he'd be like, "Oh, my wife said I had to go pick up some antiques." So I went, "I did. I just picked up Paige from the airport." Stuff like that.
Waka
waka. So,
that's good though.
Everything else we've heard. Hell in a Cell, Rock and Sock, we heard all that. But that, the beginning stuff of hearing about messing with DDP as a rookie was really entertaining.
That's fun.
Well, that definitely sounds. That might be grab a 6-pack and watch. That sounds like a good thing for the weekend. But related kinda to the Broken Skull sessions, CM Punk didn't ask me anything on Twitter, and Ed Bosco tweeted, "What would it take for you to consider being on the Broken Skull podcast?" We know what he meant. Punk's response: money. Nobody gets any royalties for anything shown on Peacock. Nobody. Yay, wrestling biz. Now, we all hate Peacock. We think it's awful. And Kevin, what do you think CM Punk on the Broken Skull sessions would be like? What do you think? Predictions?
Pipe bombs.
Yeah, you think it would just be?
I think he would lay into so much stuff. Behind the scenes stuff, who's wronged him. I don't think he would hold anything back. I thought the Ask Me Anything was pretty good though. There's one where it's like, who would you like in a fight? And he's like, put a little gif, and it was like baiting because it was an AEW versus WWE guy. But I think if they want to break ratings records on Peacock, pay the money. That's what you're supposed to do with streaming. You're supposed to pay for that type of product.
Yeah, you're supposed to get something extra other than the normal product. And Jericho was a big get. I think Punk would be bigger than Jericho at this point. Brian, any thoughts? Joe, any thoughts?
You know who I'd like to see, who for the highs that this person had in their career.
RVD?
True.
Riddle.
Career highlights, I should say, for this person. And when they left, you don't hear any sort of buzz at all about this person in connection with the wrestling business. And it's a person tied in with CM Punk. AJ Lee
Ooh.
She had a rocket of a career of being the anti-diva during that time. And what did they call her? Pipe bomb, but it was a female adjacent to it. Do you guys remember that? I can't remember.
Daddy,
that.
do you even work here?
You know what I'm talking about? No,
I know
anyway.
I know exactly which one you were talking about.
They called it something like female.
We'll get stats and information on that right now.
But she left. Punk obviously had his thing. They were getting married, and when she retired, she hasn't come back and done the Women's Royal Rumble or Evolution or anything. She's just gone. And I don't know how much new we could really hear from Punk. I think he's kind of shared it all on podcasts and on Twitter. I'd love to hear AJ Lee's perspective on all of that. She probably isn't willing to do it, but I'd love to hear about her career too. She's just kind of, stepped away, does what she does, and that's that.
Well, she wrote a book about mental health and mental wellness. And then now, literally yesterday, Wednesday, she wrote a Wonder Woman comic that just came out. Oh. Now, of course, Punk's been working with Marvel, with the Drax comics, some of the other stuff he's been writing. But yeah, she wrote a Wonder Woman comic that just came out a few days ago. So that's actually a really good one, though. That's a good get. Or
good for her. Good for her. No one gives a shit, but good for her. No one reads comics anymore. But I want to hear about your wrestling career, AJ. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. No, clearly she's doing some good stuff, but I think that'd be pretty cool.
You know who I'd like to see? I'd like to see, because it seems like Austin always does best when he's talking with somebody he traveled with, somebody that he wrestled with, somebody that he shares the same stories with. I would like to see Gold Dust on Broken Skull Sessions. I'd like to, and not just for the AEW thing. I would just he's had so many ups and so many downs. He's been at the bottom and he's always been able to crawl back up. I think it would be a better inspirational story than hearing someone like CM Punk just rip a new one, or AJ talking about some comic book that, according to Brian, no one reads. So
we'll have to get Zach Cruci on. We'll have to get Zach Cruci on the phone with that debate.
Exactly.
I don't know who that is, so sure, bring him on. Let's go, Zach. Oh wait, no, it's Joe's friend. Never mind. Okay, I know of him. He's cool with me. We're good.
He's better than fucking Alan, Kevin's friend.
Two wrestling buddies, Alan. Come on.
So one last CM Punk thing. His UFC career was not that great. Two fights.
Oh, it was the evolution of the UFC.
I'm a bit obsessed with CM Punk in the UFC. So I was on Twitter one day and I just typed in, because I went to the first fight in Cleveland, and the second one was a disaster. But I was just curious what type of CM Punk merchandise from the UFC there actually was. Now, they had put out a T-shirt that I remember seeing being sold in the arena, and then trading cards are a huge thing right now, huge business, investor type things. And I was like, oh, he has a trading card. That's cool. It was like $4. I'm like, yeah, why not? So seeing that, CM Punk had 2 fights, his career lasted maybe 3 years.
3 minutes.
The amount of UFC CM Punk trading cards that this man has is fucking insane. And me, being equally as insane, have been buying a few here and there. So I'll put a picture up on social media. And I don't know if this was with all trading card companies, but they have it's him in the cage, and it's a red background and a green background and a blue background, and his name's in silver, and then his name's in black. And I don't know what, it's CM Punk. And I know I'm not buying these things for just investment. I'm just a fan, and I'm obsessed with the whole period that he was in the UFC. But I just found it fascinating that the amount of UFC CM Punk trading cards that are out there. And I'll take a picture. I'll put them up on my table or something just to see, because it's fucking stupid. And I always look. I'm on eBay. I'm like, see what's out there now. And there's some that are autographed, and there's some that have part of his shirt on there, and some are part of the mat that he fought on. It's fucking ridiculous. So anyway, moving on to another guy with a lot of merchandise out there. John Cena said on the Tonight Show that he will be coming back to WWE, but doesn't know when. And then it came out he's going to be on SmackDown July 16th in Houston when the first live crowd returns. So, Joe, are you excited John Cena's coming back? And what do you want to see happen when he does return?
Oh, yeah, I'm excited to see John Cena come back. I can't believe that I'm actually excited to say that I'm saying that I'm excited to see John Cena come back, because it used to be go away Cena, and now we know how good he really was. So
you'll miss me when I'm gone. He
and
always said. Yeah.
I don't think he's going to do anything that night. I think it's just because it's the first SmackDown with live crowds, and they couldn't get The Rock because he was on the first SmackDown on Fox. So you got to have.
Okay.
You got to have some star power, and The Rock's
I was there
not
for
available.
that. Yeah. Gotcha. Brian, any thoughts on Cena?
I want John Cena to acknowledge the tribal chief.
Ooh, okay.
He needs to acknowledge Roman Reigns, and we got to do it at Summerfest in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Let's go. Cena, Roman. They had that one pay-per-view feud where they had like those great promos back and forth, and it was it
was a one-sided promo.
It was a shooting.
Cena destroyed him
on the mic.
That was great, but I remember it was like at the time, whatever pay-per-view that was, I'm gonna try to look it up with stats and information, but that's a WrestleMania match. Yeah, it was probably Balls of Fire or Paybacklash. So it was like, this is a WrestleMania worthy match. Why are we doing this at Balls of Backlash? So let's do this properly. Let's bring it to the SummerSlam, where I think I read they've already sold over like 38,000 tickets. So it looks like they're gonna have a big crowd at the football stadium. Let's go. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. So Kevin, you and I are going to SummerSlam in Las Vegas. Do you want to see John Cena and Roman Reigns at SummerSlam?
I would take it. From my a recent 5 count. I rated John Cena my number 1 of a guy I couldn't stand at beginning, and then I turned to like him. It's a big name. It's a big name return. I do like it that it's coming to SmackDown, right? It is exciting.
It's a better
but
show.
If it did come to Raw, it would kind of make that show a lot more exciting. But I think it's a big name, The Rock, Brock Lesnar, and John Cena. The 3 that all floated around. When are they going to come back? Is one going to come back? We've been hearing Lesnar rumors. It's just a big name, and that's what's exciting. It's a big name. He's not coming back to take anyone's spot. He doesn't care about that. He's Hollywood now, man. And but come back and still give a great match. That'd be great.
Yeah, and another John Cena tidbit is that F9 comes out today. His debut in the Fast and Furious franchise. There's only one more movie to go, and anybody planning to go see it in the theater other than me? No, all around.
Should have stopped at 7.
Yeah, 8 was pretty bad. 7
was the last one I saw in the theater.
And finally, before we get to NXT TV, Samoa Joe is going to be on Ryan Satin's podcast Monday. It's called Out of Character. It's through Fox Sports. And they're going to talk about his release as well as his return to NXT. I feel like this podcast could break the internet. I think this is going to be the one that so many people want to hear. They want to see it. They want all the information. And that'll be coming out on Monday. Out of Character, Ryan Satin, and Samoa Joe. NXT TV, we'll start with you, Brian. I've got one thing to talk about, and I will go last. What are your thoughts on NXT television this week?
Another really good show. They seem like they've hit their stride the last couple of weeks.
Will you accept any slanderous terms about this?
Well, we'll talk about the big reveal at the end. There could be a little slander in there that I will at least listen to. Fun moment at the beginning of the show. Cole calls out. He doesn't want to do his match, and basically this new guy, Carmelo Hayes, steps up, and they did a callback to guy we were just talking about, John Cena, where on the mic he threw out ruthless aggression and
So dumb.
tossed the
So
mic and
dumb.
slapped him. I liked it. I was like, that's a cool callback. So we'll see where his career goes. You know, if he's on 205 Live in a week, then we'll know where it ends up. But no, I think that was good stuff. I think we're starting to see, my question last week is who's next for Cross? I didn't see it, and maybe the direction is Johnny Gargano. It seems like the way has shifted from the goofy heels to the goofy faces. There was a fun moment where Johnny and what's the stupid guy's name?
Austin Theory.
Austin Theory. Thank you. Yeah, Johnny and Austin, they go visit Regal, where like a month ago, Johnny broke one of Regal's pencils and threw it off him. And this time he comes in to be like, you're doing a good job. He goes, hey, look what I got for you. And he takes a pencil and puts it in the cup. Like, that's funny. So that was good stuff too. We'll see where it goes. I mean, I certainly don't anticipate Gargano defeating Cross for the title if it does go that direction, but it would be a good match because he's a fantastic wrestler. Otherwise, I think we can talk about the main event. You had a great Kushida versus Kyle O'Reilly match. The word on the dirt sheets, if you will, is that they're going to try to bring more focus and attention to the cruiserweight division. So I guess they got the main event spot. And then we had a big reveal at the end of the night.
So at the end of the match, Kushida and O'Reilly are like shaking hands and hugging, and then Adam Cole came out, and Cole and O'Reilly ended up outside, and then all of a sudden the Diamond Mine finally shows up, and I was extremely underwhelmed. Not who I thought it was, not what I thought they were going to do. This is another Pinnacle situation. All the dudes are like 6'2" and under, if that. They're not anything, that's ass kicking. Roderick Strong. If I was booking it, I would have had Cole and O'Reilly spill out to the floor. Diamond Mine beat the shit out of both of them because Roderick Strong's pissed off that those two fucked up the Undisputed Era. And then build from there. But if they're going with Roddy for the Cruiserweight title, I guess that makes sense too. But overall, I was not a fan of the Diamond Mine reveal. Malcolm Bivens, he's been very active on social media for a year, but it didn't really do anything for me. And I'm guessing the next addition probably would be Marina Shafir, who is Roddy's wife and also a former MMA fighter. So I guess that would fit in with the group. But overall, I was very let down by the debut of the faction, which leads to this week's 5 Count.
That Wrestling Podcast presents the 5 Count.
So this week's 5 Count, disappointment by debuting factions. And Brian, every time I send one of these, you fucking twist and turn my words around.
Yeah.
Is it this or is it this? Is it this or is it this? So I will go first this week. And the number 5 is not really a faction per se, but it's been the debut of all the new Paul Heyman guys. Cesaro, but the one that was really like a kick in the stomach for me was the Curtis Axel debut. He was Michael McGillicuddy. I was excited because I'm like, Paul Heyman's going to have a new guy and it's going to be on the level of a Brock Lesnar or a CM Punk. And it was Curtis Axel. Here's what's funny. In the promo, Heyman says, quote, 10 years from now, you will remember where you were and witness history, close quote. Sadly, it was for the wrong reason. So any debut of a new Heyman guy that wasn't Brock Lesnar or CM Punk, kind of a letdown. Like I said, I know it's not a faction per se, but it was just not good. And number 4, this is real. This is a real thing I'm about to discuss. The Old Age Outlaws. Anybody remember what this is?
That rings a bell, but I'm not getting it.
So have any of you guys played street hockey to the point where when you pick teams, everyone would just throw their sticks in the center and then they would toss them out, and the sticks on the left were one team and the sticks on the right were another team? Do you know what I'm talking? Do you even know what I'm talking about when I say that?
Nope.
So this is a case of Vince Russo throwing hockey sticks out to see who's going to be on what team. And the Old Age Outlaws was towards the end of WCW, and it was Arn Anderson, Larry Zbyszko, Paul Orndorff, and Terry Funk. Great legends. Unfortunately, kind of like, all right, didn't really do much for me. Number 3, Thuggin' and Buggin' Enterprises. Anybody?
That was the Teddy Long one with
Yes.
Jazz and Rodney Mack, right?
Wow.
Part of it, yes. So it started as the Enterprise.
Nerd flag.
Point for Jazz.
It was D'Lo Brown and Teddy Long. It's in 2002. In 2003, Teddy Long would kick D'Lo out and align himself with Rodney Mack and Jazz. And the reason they came together is because the man was holding them down from being successful. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's right.
Christopher Nowinski made it into the group because he claimed
God.
the man was holding him down because he was too intelligent. Mark Henry would join the stable before it disappeared.
Becky Lynch have against them?
When she was like 7. The best part was Rodney Mack's White Boy Challenge until Goldberg completely squashed it, and that was the end of Thuggin' and Buggin' Enterprises. Number 2.
That's a good one.
This one will be a little more recognizable. The Cosmic Wasteland. Stardust with the Ascension. Mm-hmm. Imagine a space pirate teaming up with the Mad Max Thunderdome kind of deal. And that's all I have for it. And finally,
that's all that was needed for it.
Number 1, to purposely insult the fans with G.I. Joe makeovers of established stars, it is the Misfits in action. Booker T, G.I. Bro, Chavo Guerrero, Lieutenant Loco, Lash LaRue, Corporate Cajun, Bill DeMott, General Erection, Van Hammer, Major Stash. The Wall was Sergeant AWOL. And I feel like Major Guns was in this group too because she had big tits. But I couldn't find anything about her being in the Misfits in action. So
she was.
That is my 5 count. And like I said, some of these I remembered. Some like Thuggin' and Buggin', I knew it was kind of like Joe. You're like, it's Teddy Long and somebody. And but the Misfits in action, unbelievable.
You're so depressed.
I am.
Like
I said, this is kind of like a letdown, man. Like, so much potential. And I know Misfits in Action were my number 1, but I really feel like the Heyman one was like the worst because I was really pumped. And I'm like,
right. The bar so high, and then the Axeman came out. And
Brian, go ahead. We'll let you go. We'll let you go second.
This is a fun topic. My number 5. I'm ready to get the heat thrown on me, but I'm ready for it. Number 5 is the NWO Wolfpack.
What?
Fuck the Wolfpack, man.
Wow.
Fuck the Wolfpack. The only reason they're not higher is because their song does slap. The kids say. These are good. Guys, name one good Wolfpack moment. There isn't any. Who?
K-Dog.
Yeah, that sucked. I hated that. I loved
Sting ripped off the NWO shirt and
it was all down here. He came out with the red face paint. Then no one likes.
Oh yeah, the next week sucked, but like that moment was awesome.
But that's my point. Was I loved the NWO and they were taking over WCW. So the Wolfpack had like Luger and Sting,
Macho
and
Man,
Nash. Yeah, Macho. It's just
when Henning turned on him was sweet too.
There's no good Wolfpack moments, man. I if I'm thinking NWO, I'm black and white for life.
You couldn't have said NWO 2000 Silver
I
and black.
thought about it. They're just not
Bret Hart,
even
Jeff
worthy
Jarrett.
of this. Yeah,
You
I
mentioned all
did think
these
about them.
regular NWO. Macho is in Wolfpack. Luger was in
Yeah.
Wolfpack.
Yeah, that's
Sting was
exactly
Wolfpack.
it. But it was
What about NWO team with Horace and Vincent
Right.
and Brian Adams and
IRS.
Stevie Ray?
respect
Michael
Scott
Wall Street.
Norton.
Scott
Yeah.
Norton.
Yeah, no, I'm going. I went big on that one. I wanted to go number
All right.
5 with my Wolfpack. Number 4. This one is just a bad time in wrestling, and while I like some of the players in it, just a lot of bad stuff. The $1 Million Corporation. So this is like the new generation time of the WWF. You got Ted DiBiase. He can't wrestle anymore, and it's just like a bunch of random guys. You got Nikolai Volkov. You got Bam Bam Bigelow. Tatanka's in there. Hey, let's bring back King Kong Bundy. 1, 2, 3 kids. Sure. It's just random. I think what I don't like about it is because like, it's not like they had their own like shirts really, they just were like their guys under Ted's guidance. It's just a bad time in wrestling. And that's when I'm just not feeling it all. Like, God, these guys sucked. That's my number 4. My number 3 is, you guys remember The Core?
Mm-hmm.
It was like that was like the Nexus B team, right?
Oh,
It was
yeah.
CM Punk kicks out Wade Barrett, and Wade Barrett ends up bringing in Slater and Justin Gabriel, and he brings in Ezekiel Jackson, and not a whole lot happens after that. And I think it was
Not
just
a whole lot of spelling bee champions in that group either.
No.
How many R's were in that group?
There's a couple of R's. There's an E, and that's silent. It's just, yeah, I think everybody knew from the get-go, like, oh, you're the Nexus rejects. Okay. So not a fan. Love Wade Barrett, but not a fan of that.
They had a shirt, CORRE.
Yeah,
I
remember that.
There's a Heath Slater ring-worn The Core shirt with proof of COA 150 on eBay right now.
What?
So
$1.50?
No, $150.
Hey, he's got kids,
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if he's selling it, but it is for sale.
Wow.
Currently.
All right, live that gimmick. My number 2, I want to say this was like the WCW parallel time frame to the $1 Million Corporation, the Dungeon of Doom. Man.
Those are great. I love that.
Come on.
It was so much fun.
I hated the Shark when we all know it was Earthquake, the Zodiac when we all know it's Beefcake. You had Ming was in there, Kamala was in there, and it was just that when Hogan left for WCW, I was so tired of red and yellow. I wanted Flair to beat him. I wanted Vader to beat him. I hated these guys. So like I wanted to get behind the Dungeon of Doom. Granted the Giant came out of that, so that all worked out for that, but it was just a bad time in wrestling, and no, thank you. My number 1, and I'm sorry, these guys they suck. They absolutely suck. I usually like to give guys a chance. I couldn't do it with these guys. JBL's Cabinet. You guys remember the Cabinet?
Yes.
So JBL's the champ, and he was doing his rich guy thing, and that worked out fine. You got Orlando Jordan. Nah. Just wasn't there, man. Wasn't there. Just so plain Jane. And then another just nondescript team, the Bashams. Terrible name, terrible look, just garbage. I did not buy into the JBL's Cabinet at all. JBL by himself, fine. Everybody else was just, usually stables are meant to elevate some guys. These guys, I couldn't smell. I could smell the shit on them from my TV screen. Just garbage. That's my number 1.
Kevin.
Hey.
What I love about this one is while there might be some crossover between you and Joe, I really feel like the amount of bad there's so much that there's a really good chance we could get through all 20 and no repeats. So but go ahead.
Like Brian, I'll just ask you a question. What's the best version of the NWO?
I mean, you start with the original.
And you think the Wolfpack was the worst?
No, they're really not
I'm
the worst.
going. My number five. My number five is a version of blank world order. It is the Latino world order.
I considered
Ooh.
them. I considered them.
Only because
I like them.
and I get later down the list. I have some more similar tie-ins like this. I liked Eddie, right? I don't know. There's just, let's throw every single person of Latino heritage into the LWO. Like, I don't know. It was just throwing in another world order instead of something else. I don't know. I was just annoyed with it in WCW. So that made my number 5. Number 4.
I hear you. And Kevin hates tacos, by the way.
My number 4. All WCW guys showing up in WWF, Malenko, Benoit, Perry, Saturn, and Eddie.
Radicals.
The Radicals.
Wow.
Okay. You didn't like them?
I like them. Yeah.
I liked them. I just did not like the name of the group.
Okay.
That was
But it had a Z. It made it cool.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what?
If that's not a year 2000
But it
that
does,
made it
it does have
cool.
the Radicals
trademark. Yeah.
Good. I liked them, sitting ringside, showing
I
up,
was
but
I was there for that.
Were you
It was
really?
in Pittsburgh.
That's right.
Brian, you weren't with me, were you?
No, because I think I was still at Penn State.
Okay, yeah. So I was at that Raw, and I remember seeing them, and I'm like, "Hey, that's so and so and so and so." And then, sure enough, everything went down the way it is. But go ahead.
three
sorry.
is kind of it ties in, so it's gonna be 2 groups. So Nation of Domination, was so big. A group of strong African American dudes. Then they had like 2 stupid kind of bridge offs. Group of bikers, Disciples of Apocalypse, and Savio's leading Los Boricuas, if I pronounce that right. I was never interested in either of those groups. One match, nothing outside of those main guys. I couldn't even tell you who else was in the damn groups.
Skull.
Wait, so which one are you picking? Are you lumping them all together?
No, it's the same. They're both
they are the same. I agree.
That is number 3. Number 2, it's another faction of just a collective group. Some were good. Wade Barrett, Sheamus,
I know where you're going.
Rusev, and Alberto Del Rio, the League of Nations. I was never the biggest Del Rio guy. Wade was good. Rusev was great. Sheamus, it just never gelled with me. Like, it was just like, let's just throw these main event guys into a group, but it just didn't work. Like,
Okay.
Brought out like shirts, and it just didn't work. And that leads into my number 1. One of the dumbest names ever in the history of a professional wrestling faction. Team PCB, Paige, Charlotte, and Becky. It was terrible.
Well, we know what happened.
Well, you know why,
Yeah.
right, Kevin? You know why, right? Because they were originally the submission sorority, and that turned out to be a porno.
That's right.
Porn, yeah. But it was just the name. I'm more on name alone, and I'm the biggest Paige. More not so plasticky what she is now, like goth Paige, like NXT. She looked damn hot. Well, she's good looking now, but it's just too filler of lips and but like just seeing that bad name and Becky's shit. Actually, wouldn't that be crazy if she came back for SummerSlam? But all those ladies, great name, terrible. And Joe.
So, wait, hold on. Before we get to Joe, the LWO, I think it could return in 2022 or late 2021. Hear me out. We all know when NXT guys go to the main roster, they never have the same gimmick, name, whatever.
Oh,
Phantasmo or whatever that Legado del Fantasma becomes the LWO. They bring in Humberto del Gas. I can't think of Humberto's last name right now. Angel Garza and the leader, Dominic Mysterio. I am all in on Dom being
pushing heel Dominic, man. I'm with you.
Heel
Ray
Dominic
was
in the worst
reluctant
way.
I do
part of
too.
the LWO.
I'd love to boo him.
But that's how they formed. They beat the shit out of Ray. Ray's gone, and then LWO takes over in 2022. Joe, bring us home with your 5 count.
Before Joe goes, maybe you should be a head writer for WWE, like Kimbro or whatever.
No, we know too much about it. They're not looking for us.
It's true.
With Bobby Ashley. Joe, sorry for interrupting.
Okay.
Joe, before you get started, no.
I'll be quick because you guys had already named 3 of my 5.
Just don't do the Jericho Cruiserweight introductions like last week.
Okay, well, first,
come on, man. We got to wrap this show up.
El Dandy.
I'm going to start off with the promo that made me want to hate these guys. No, I'm kidding. Number 5 from WCW.
Make it an extra.
The Misfits in action. I could not stand them. Every single, like Jason, everything you said was exactly why I put them on the list. They are my number 5, Misfits in action. GI Bro, General Erection, Lieutenant Loco. No, thank you.
I think General Erection is like the worst thing you've ever said because like you don't swear. Right. That might be the worst thing we've ever got you saying on camera.
I'm on vacation. Number 4, Brian, you mentioned it. The Core.
Yeah.
Dumb, stupid. Like, okay, so you took the Nexus rejects and put them on SmackDown and had them lose at Mania, and it was pretty much done deal.
Yeah.
Number 3, no one's mentioned yet. The New Blood from WCW when they did the switch and
Millionaires Club against
the Millionaires Club versus New Blood, and the problem was they made the New Blood heels and the Millionaire Club faces. Everyone wanted the old guys off TV. Shouldn't they have done it the other way around? And they talked about, these are the guys who didn't get a chance, led by Jeff Jarrett.
Love Jeff Jarrett. He's one of my favorites.
But he shouldn't have been part of the New Blood. And Shane Douglas shouldn't have been part of the New Blood. Like, none of those guys should have been there. So they messed it up with not only making them heels when we all wanted the new guys to get a chance, but they lost every match to the Millionaires Club. Billy Kidman versus Hulk Hogan was terrible. And Kidman is a heel. Are you kidding me? The only thing that I learned from that is you can't powerbomb Billy Kidman.
Oh, yeah, God, I forgot about that.
But he banged out Tori Wilson a lot.
Yeah,
so good for
him.
Good
for her. And she'll be on the next Stone Cold Broken Skull session. No, I'm kidding. Number 2, Kevin mentioned PCB.
Wow, a lot of PCB love this week.
The problem with that group was the fact that they were like, I went with this as groups that didn't last long enough. And PCB broke up way too quick. They could have been something good. It was PCB versus Team Bad, which was Sasha and Tamina and Naomi. At least they lasted a little bit longer as a group. So that's why I put PCB down there as my number 2. And my number 1, to my knowledge, this faction only lasted 2 episodes of Raw. It might have been 3.
They're still going.
Nope, not them. Not them. I'm talking about.
I know what you're going to say.
They tried to go against the corporation, the Union.
The Union.
Mankind, Test, Shamrock, Big Show, and Ken Shamrock. The Union, when Shane McMahon took over the corporation and kicked them all out and then formed with the corporate ministry, Mankind came out with these guys and they all had 2x4s and they're like, blah, 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 blah. And we're not going to make some catchy gimmick. We're just a group of people you ought to respect, son. Union people you ought to respect, son. So I guess we are up yours. And that was like their big contribution to the factions. So the Union could have been good, but it did not last. It was only like 2 weeks.
I do not remember anything about the Union. And if you're wondering, well, what did you think Joe was going to say? Joe hates Retribution, but they're still going.
I don't.
So you hate Retribution.
They're so bad. They didn't make my top 5. They didn't make my 5 count. That's how bad they are.
When they are headlining WrestleMania next year, you will.
When they are headlining WrestleMania, there they are.
There's your highlight of the Union right there. Let's induct them to the Hall of Fame. Da, 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 da.
Man,
okay, we're done.
Huge.
When they're headlining WrestleMania, I will take 4 months off of the show because I won't be allowed to talk about it.
All right, you hear it here first. You hear it here first. That is that is this week's 5 count.
Who made your 5 count? Let us know on social media using the hashtag TWP5count.
Another week is in the books, so don't forget to follow the show on social media at thatwrestlepod, where if you go, you can see a picture of the night the idea for the podcast was born. It was after Brian's wedding. We were all very, very hammered, and in a weird twist, it took 7.5 years to get back to actually making the podcast. So we had to do some practice over the years. You can check out that picture. You can also pick up a t-shirt at whatamaneuver.net. Just search That Wrestling Podcast. We have the logo tee that Joe has on, and we also have the Bruise Necks logo tee as well. So thanks, guys, for hanging out. Thank you for listening. Thanks, We Are Wasted, for the theme music. Dangerous Darren for the BO. And we will talk to you next week on That Wrestling Podcast.
Thanks for listening. Follow That WrestlePod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
1, 2, 3, that's it!